Hey everybody, I'm Jody Vance,
And I'm George-Affleck.
and it's time for
UnSpun Special Edition Election Time. What is that?
Woo! Happy birthday, Boxing Day.
Happy birthday, Boxing. I know, right? I worked a 12-hour shift on my birthday. That was always good times.
Dude,
But it was all right.
what? Oh,
Thank you.
what a night.
Oh, what a night. Shocker. I mean, yeah, it was surprising. 51% for Ken Sim in Vancouver. And Brenda Locke was not a surprise, but I hear there is some pushback from McCallum about contesting it and seeing if it can be a recount.
Okay.
So,
Okay,
where do
Doug.
you want to start?
You know what? I'm gonna shock the people who are tuning in on this, and I would like to acknowledge the people of Chilliwack. I would like to acknowledge the people of Chilliwack who did not re-elect the transphobic, homophobic nightmare that is Barry Neufeld. And I'm telling you what, it was a long time coming. It happened. And isn't it fascinating that the first trans man has been elected as a school trustee on the same election that Barry Neufeld is voted out? And I just want to put that out there, as I think there's a reason to be optimistic in this world when votes count and matter that way. Before we dive into how people are already arguing about what this means in Surrey or what that means in Vancouver, or which we're going to do, we're going to take the spin out of it. But I didn't warn you first I was going to do that, but it comes from my heart for all of the kids, for the studentvoices.ca, who we had on the Steele and Vance show last Thursday. Studentsvoices.ca. Amazing. These kids pushing back with positivity and doing it in a way that I think is really spectacular and being heard. So now,
speaking of positivity,
how did no more Kennedy-Stewart?
Yeah. And Colleen also kind of wiped out, and Colleen Hardwick and team in Vancouver. I think, as I've been saying for a long time, that a leader has to kind of inspire. There has to be something inspiring. And I'm not saying Ken Sim was particularly inspiring, but I can say without a doubt that Kennedy-Stewart and Colleen Hardwick's campaigns were absolutely not inspiring. And Colleen Hardwick's campaign was completely based on negativity. I was talking to Amanda this morning, my partner, and saying to her, Trump is quite negative and quite a negative person. But his campaign slogan has always been like, get great. It's always about positivity.
Right.
Let's make America great. So while he himself is quite a negative person, he understands how that you have to inspire people and get them excited.
Spin it. You have to spin it.
Get them excited. And Colleen Hardwick just made everybody womp. And Kennedy-Stewart didn't even run a campaign. Where was I've been saying this for weeks. Where was it? People wanted to vote for the left or center. That's generally how we vote in Vancouver. But there was no reason to do it. He didn't give them any reason to vote for him. And so basically that mushy middle, and I talked about this last night on CTV, that's where they went. You and I have talked about this. Where do they land? And they obviously landed on Ken Sim, and that's how you win big in Vancouver. That's how Gregor Robertson did it, and that's how Ken Sim did it last night.
Let's have a little bit of a chat about polling, because I triggered some people hard just by retweeting something that I love. Justin McElroy. We talk about him all the time. He is so great. He's smart. He's funny. He's irreverent, and he's fact-based. He put out Mario Canseco of Research Co's polling for, I think it was October 14th. I've totally lost track of days. I believe it was the day before the election, late in the day. Here's what it looks like. So it's kind of like, here's the last exit poll thing before actual voting day. And it had Ken Sim up 2 at 33%, Kennedy-Stewart down 3 at 33%, Colleen Hardwick at 12%, and Mark Marison and Fred Harding at like 8 or 5%. I can't remember. They're barely registering. But then 14% of voters undecided. So there's your mushy middle, right? So I'm looking at that and I'm like, George, you've been educating me for probably 18 months about what this should look like. And typically that would lean toward reelecting the incumbent. unless
especially a left-leaning incumbent in Vancouver.
when there's only one on the left, right? So, but I put it out
Mm-hmm.
there with no qualification. I have not endorsed anybody. I have told everybody who's asked me who to vote for, I'm like, you're going to have to figure out that yourself. I do know what I don't want. I don't want another 4 years of what we've seen. And
Mm-hmm.
Kennedy-Stewart, and I've said it before, but I'll say it again because this is a special and maybe somebody's only listening to me for the first time. Kennedy-Stewart lost me in a pandemic when he basically stood up and said, we're screwed. We're bankrupt,
Bankrupt.
and I can't afford the police. So
Why are you
see
suing
ya,
us?
see ya, and off he went. And I was like,
Yep.
wait, what? Like,
Yeah, we
and
were already
in that
panicking.
I was scared,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to know where our city's leadership was going to take us, and he took us nowhere. So
Yeah.
when somebody's like, well, great, Ken Sim's now going to go downtown east side and like drag it with a bulldozer, I'm like, is he though?
He's not going to do that. I'll tell you
But
that.
that's what people
His
are
council
freaking
is
out
so
about.
mixed in their
Yeah, let's
levels
talk.
of spectrum on the political spectrum. But yeah, the solution for he's not going to solve homelessness in 5 years. Like these
No,
kinds of big grand statements.
right,
He won a decisive victory. He does have what I call this. I've told you about this supermajority on council, which is 8 votes.
right.
In Vancouver, and I would expect it's the case in most places, but certainly in Vancouver, if you have 8 votes, that gives you a supermajority for things like real estate, making
Right.
purchasing and selling decisions. That's a big deal. So they don't have to wait on council, the rest of the council, or convince council if they want to sell or buy real estate. That speeds up a lot of things. So it's really about
So
driving.
can you break that down just a little bit? Because you and I have talked about, again, you and I have discussed this before. But from a council perspective,
Mhm.
that buying and selling, when you're talking about that, somebody's frontal lobe is exploding because they're like, developers are all going to make all that money. Developing also includes affordable housing and housing for,
Yeah,
property because building homes for people,
yeah.
period,
The
is
city, the
also
city
developing, right?
Yeah, the city is the biggest landowner. Any city, generally,
Yeah.
in any town in
Yeah.
this province, is usually the biggest landowner in that town. But in Vancouver, especially, that's the case. They include roads as part of that. But there are many places in the city that the city owns that are either unused. I mean, you can't even get a list of all the pieces of property that the city owns, and they own tons. And there are little pockets here and there. Quite often, it's because of engineering bought these pieces of property years ago for something that never happened.
Right.
Sometimes it's alleys. It's weird stuff. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
And so it's an opportunity to either sell that stuff, make some cash if you want, or turn it do something with it, develop it, or put it on into a land lease or something. Start, they're making those decisions quick. I'm not saying that's what they're going to do, but that gives them that
No.
power. Bunch
And
of legal
that's what
things that
I'm
they can do and all that kind of stuff. So it just gives them the ability to push through big stuff like that, or complicated stuff, or stuff that some people might push back at, and buying things as well. The other, just a majority in itself on council, on school board, and on park board, huge one green on park board. This is amazing. I mean, this is I don't know much about the park board candidates, to be honest, with the ABC in Vancouver. And Ken Sim had promised to dismantle the park board. He's pulled back on that, obviously, and now that he has this massive majority on park board. But they
he
never claimed that they
also
were going to remove that bike lane in Stanley Park, Jody. So I'm afraid you're probably still going to have a bike lane in Stanley Park.
that's basically what I want to say here is, if Ken Sim, as mayor of Vancouver, wanted to get rid of park board with a supermajority and a majority on park board, he actually could.
Park board themselves have to get rid of themselves, so that they
Right.
have
But they
to
have a
say,
majority, so they could
yeah, they could
vote
vote it. First thing they could
to
do.
get rid of it.
Yeah, but they're not going to do that.
No, they're not.
No.
No, they're not. I'm a little disappointed that Trisha Barker's not on the park board. She had worked so hard, and that's not a party thing. That's a person thing. She's been so laser focused on people with disabilities and the elderly
Yeah.
having access that I just want to acknowledge that her hard work. And how about that MPA tweet saying
With John Cooper?
get out today and vote for John Cooper?
Well, they would have got more votes if John Cooper had been their mayoral candidate. That's for sure. Ken Sim might have been a bit more worried last night
Right.
than he was. But yeah, Trisha was a really good park board commissioner, and I think it's a testament though to the campaign that team ran Also, Trisha was kind of hard. She was really the bike lane thing. I've talked about this. You got to be really careful in
Yeah.
saying you're going to remove bike lanes in Vancouver. That doesn't win you a lot of friends in
Right.
that mushy middle. They like bike
Yeah.
lanes,
Yeah.
so you got to be careful when you talk about bike lanes in Vancouver. And so that hurt her. And then being part of that team, that negative campaign that she was part of, she got pulled down in several ways, but she wouldn't have won if she was on NPA either. So
Right.
they got destroyed. They're dead and buried as a party, I would say now. As is Vision.
Wow.
They're gone. They're both gone. Two parties that had
So,
all the power 4 years ago now have disappeared off the face of the earth.
but kind of rightfully so when you look at the state of the city. However, as you've pointed out by the book that you talk about regularly about what's happened in San Francisco, what we've seen
Mm-hmm.
happen in Portland, what we've seen happen in Seattle, what we've seen happen in many cities
Yeah.
across North America is what we are seeing happen here. Nobody really has a magic wand, but certainly the parties that have been in power most recently, who've perhaps taken the more um, left leaning. There's really no other way of putting it. The sort of more
Well, yeah,
passive route.
progressive.
Well,
The
whatever the
progressive
word
approach.
is, it turns it into a dirty word though when the
Yes.
result is more crime, more homelessness, more addiction, more
Mm-hmm.
and whether or not what would here's the real unspun question for you, George. You said this about Kennedy-Stewart and his council when he was elected 4 years ago. What's on tap here as a priority, do you think, for the new mayor of Vancouver in terms of what should he do or not do in these first 50, 100 days of a mayoralship?
Well, he made a lot of promises that are pretty bold and probably not doable. There are some of the things that even I know as council know, the ones that were incumbents know it's already happening with staff. Things like Laneway House having like I think 3 or 5 templated laneway homes that you can say, okay, I'll put that one in my backyard, and then you get approval very quickly. That's already in the works.
Good.
I think one of the things, and it's going to be the first thing they need to do is take their time on the budget. They don't have to approve the budget in December. They'll be sworn in about 2 weeks. I've been told. So they'll be at work in November. They should just take that budget, tear it up, start again, take a look at everything, and they have till March, April, May to really finish that budget, because that budget will lay the groundwork for the next 4 years, if not 8 years, for this council. So they need to be cautious on how they look at that budget. Kenson made some big promises about moving money around. It's possible to do that, but you have to go in there and make some really tough decisions about specific projects that are in the works, especially on the environmental side, which of course we heard Adrian Carr last night for the Green Party. I've never seen Adrian do this, sort of a call to arms, for the
Yeah.
she will be the opposition. I am going to hold them to task. Well, because, last election, I'm going to work with the mayor. I really want to, because he was more aligned with her. She's now sees this ABC party as a threat to her environmental agenda. But frankly, I believe Adrian, I'm good. I'm close with Adrian because we worked together closely for 7 years in council. But to me, sometimes the Green Party loses focus about what their priority is.
Right.
I think she could have been doing more related to how the city could be more green in a really pragmatic way, and she didn't for 11 years now.
Yeah.
And instead, she got into bed with a lame duck mayor and ended up nowhere, and again, and voted against projects, and looked like she was anti-development, and was very aligned to the all this stuff with social housing. Like, I think one of the really interesting things here, and I kind of texted some of the winners because I know some of them, and I think two things I would warn them about is one, be careful, don't get cocky, don't be humble. Because super majority, a big majority like this on all levels can make you, that's what Vision's been
Vision
doing.
lost on. Yep.
They lost touch with
100%.
reality. But that said, the election and the vote last night showed you that loud minority of people who are anti-development, or whatever we call anti-construction, anti-social housing, not these NIMBYs as they get called. The majority of the city are saying no, because we have a political party now that has a massive majority on all
Yeah.
levels of government who are pretty much pro-development, and will understand how to build the Broadway line, all that stuff. that didn't fly with the electorate in this election. And I think it's good to remember that when you have those people who come and will scream at you, that they don't represent the majority of the people here. That
Right.
said,
Right.
the
You
numbers went down
listen.
last night to 36% in
Yeah.
Vancouver,
Yeah.
30% in Surrey for the turnout. These are terrible numbers.
So we're going to get
Terrible
to
numbers.
Surrey in a second, but before we do, I want to talk. You mentioned council. You mentioned the green element. A couple of big sort of known councillors, if you will. I mean, there are a couple of councillors who were reelected to council that hopefully will bring the experience of how the personal agenda, constant alteration to whatever's on the table doesn't get anybody anywhere. Having a conversation that's meaningful does. But there are a couple who aren't there anymore, and Jean Swanson and Melissa DiGenova and
Colleen Hardwick's not there because she ran for mayor,
Colleen
so she's
Hardwick's not
gone.
there, right? And
Mike Weeb.
Mike
Yeah.
Weeb. So those are not insignificant names who find themselves out.
Well, Mike Weeb took the fall because of his conflict of interest that he got away
Patio.
with, but it just looked bad. It's a bad look, so people remember that stuff. Jean, she didn't get the throwaway vote. There was only a couple of, the fact that NPA ran 7. If they'd run 6, it looks like one of the forward people might have won. I think they came in 11th.
Wow.
And Dulcie, I've forgotten her name. Anyways, so they might have, if they'd run 6, you might have seen you wouldn't have seen Jean. She came in like 14th. Melissa was way down there. So Mike took it because of the conflict. Jean there wasn't enough throwaway votes for her. And Melissa just died with the NPA. I mean, they're toast. The people of the city have replaced NPA with ABC. If NPA had been functional, and ABC didn't exist, and John Cooper had been running I think this would have been the outcome with NPA. And if they had a functional board and a functional operation and a good machine and a good candidate, it's all those things. To have a party come out of nowhere, but you're looking at the mechanisms, and all the people that were at the NPA when I was there are all over at ABC now. So it's all the same people that I worked with for the time I was in office. All the backroom people, almost the entire caucus that was elected in 2018. So, you have this basically ABC, NPA renamed ABC.
ABC. It's a rebrand. It's a rebrand.
They finally got their new name.
They did. It's like the Liberal Party of BC. They just need to just start another party, and everybody move over there and just be another party.
That's
anyway,
right. One thing we don't know about ABC is actually their mechanism. Because one of the challenges that the NPA, by the way, and this is often in the challenge with parties, is the whole AGM and the membership and how involved they get, and how you can have these boards get switched around, which was the undoing of NPA in the end. ABC is kind of murky on what happened. How does membership work? How do I even join the ABC? Is it? Can I don't know. I mean,
but now will we see who the donor list is? Is now the time we get to see the donor list, and everybody can because that's what I'm getting on my Twitter right now. It's like, great, well, my renovation is coming then, and a tower is going to be built right in front of my place, and this and that. Like, they're just coming, and I'm like, really? The morning after? Like, you're going to lean so hard into the rhetoric that you're not even going to give change an opportunity. And I'm not an outward supporter of any candidate, but I'm looking at where we're at. I wanted change. We got change. We got change 100%. In the city, and that's what this Vancouverite wanted. I want someone else to do something different. Yeah,
and regarding the donor stuff, that'll come out as part of the financials. But I've said this times. There are some people who donate and think they have they think they get influence. But my experience is certainly within the world I live in and the way where I was politically, generally there's just an agreement that the donations were always like, we just want you to run the city properly. Can you please? And efficiently? Right. And that's all. That's why we're donating.
How about that?
Developers.
Doesn't matter.
Just want things to be normal. It really is that. It's simple. And that's not it's not a big ask.
Things have not been normal, George.
No.
Things have not been normal. And I hope some normalcy comes in.
For a long time.
I know. I hope. And the only thing that makes me uncomfortable with the results in Vancouver is the supermajority in council. Because what really bothered me about Vision, when you were sitting in council, you knew that the decision was made before anybody even walked into the council chambers. And I hope a lesson was learned then, So, like you said, so that the people coming in, and the mayor is one vote, but it's a very powerful room right now.
Mm-hmm.
If there is an agenda at play, people are going to have very little patience for that, and it'll be a long and fast 4 years. Or this is an opportunity to really get back on track what has clearly gone off the rails for far too long. We do need some semblance of order when it comes to at least the direction. There's been so much noise in the city that nothing's gotten done. Like, how many times have we talked about our garbage not getting picked up, our streets breaking
Yeah.
down, crumbling infrastructure, budgets that we don't even know, really big expenditures over here, and then not enough to actually do the thing. Can we get lifeguards
But,
at the freaking pool next year? Enough so that I can go swimming once, just
yes,
once. I didn't get to go
definitely.
swimming once. I
There's
used to go swimming every single day, every single
and
day.
people are, I have that contact who were in the lifeguard, and there are people that died this year that weren't reported. And anyways, it's the lifeguard situation on the beaches.
What?
So but I don't want to get into that right now. But
Okay, let's go to Surrey.
but
Let's go to Surrey.
just two things regarding
Okay.
Vancouver, because I think this is important in that one of the challenges Ken Sim's going to have, and it's nothing anything he has control over, but it's going to be really tough to achieve some of his goals, is we are heading into a recession. We have
Right.
double-digit inflation and high interest rates.
Yeah.
If you flipped over the election, the ballot, you would have seen these capital questions. These are borrowing questions. This is for borrowing. We as electorate,
Hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah.
okay, your interest rates now are 7%. They've gone from maybe 3% or whatever the city was getting before that. Now they're going to pay 7% on any money they borrow,
Yeah.
plus the development levies and the development money that is been coming in. This isn't just Vancouver, and I talked about this in the last couple of episodes. Looking at communities where they had seeing it 1/4 or 1/5 of what they were getting from developers over the
Right.
next several years, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars that won't be contributed to cities, including Vancouver, that pays for sidewalks and pays for sewers
Yeah.
and pays for infrastructure construction.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a challenge with the cost of borrowing impacts your operating budget in a big way. So if you're paying right now, the city pays more than 10% of its operating budget is used to pay down the debt that they have. If that interest rate doubles or triples, you can assume your cost of that will go up exponentially. So, real problem for any party and any government across, but Vancouver specifically, because it's allowed to borrow a lot of money.
Yeah.
It doesn't have any savings because Vision didn't save and Kennedy-Stewart didn't save. Unlike Burnaby, who has billions
Yeah.
of dollars saved, Vancouver has very little money to really play with, and it's going to be a challenge to achieve a lot of big goals in the next 4 years because of those outside impacts.
I hope that well said. I hope the priorities shift and tighten to the degree that what is most needed tops the list of expenditures, and that the rest be
Zero-based
tightened up.
budgeting.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Start from zero. What do we need?
Exactly. Yeah.
Then you get to the total number at the end, to basics, and then you say, okay, now we can ask for this much more. Even if you base it on the current budget, you get to okay, we've put a budget together that achieves all the things that we need, that people should expect from their city. That's cost like $1 billion, let's say, or whatever. Okay, that means we have $600 million left to spend, which is the budget last time, $1.6 billion. What are we going to do with that? How do we spend that $600 million? Those are the questions.
How do we best
asking,
spend
and they should
it?
be asking them publicly in council over the next 4 to 6 months. So this council should have hearing after conversation about, what do you want to do with this extra cash? First, figure out what the basics are. Then say, okay, we got this much money left over. What do you want us to do, people? And do it.
So what happens to the Surrey Municipal Police now?
Yeah, Diane Watts was like my co-host last night on CTV, former mayor of Surrey, and she talked a lot about the fact they've already got this line item in their budget, and they've set aside this money for, whether the difference between keeping the RCMP and having a new police force, there's a couple $100 million that they were going to spend, that maybe they could look at a hybrid model where they would have the RCMP and then a community police force that's doing other things, like, for example, mental health care stuff, the stuff that Ken Sim's talking about, these 100 nurses, that kind of stuff. Let's look at what else does Surrey need, and let's put that money aside for that. I think that's an interesting idea. It's easier to do that, I think, in Surrey with the RCMP than it would be in Vancouver with its strong police union, because they don't see very positively on you creating another police force or another organization that does another thing that they think is their job. So with the RCMP, they might be more open to that idea. So we'll see what happens there in Surrey, and I'm
I was
sure.
super curious because my co-host over there at Steele and Vance, Linda's husband, is
Mhm.
the chief of police in Surrey, and he has been working a very full-time job hiring a great number of officers with the vehicles
Yeah,
and that, like the structure, and it's been approved at a provincial level. Like this train is down the track, and now there's two. There's the RCMP and the
yeah,
municipal police,
it's a
and
mess.
all of them. It is a mess, George.
It's a tangled mess and a very, 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 very expensive experiment.
Very
So,
expensive. Yeah, double down right
but
now.
but
But she
people voted
ran on it.
for it. Yeah,
She
and
ran on it
well, I
and
think we were
won with it.
surprised that she said outright last night, because I thought during her campaign she was going to, take a look at it and assess it and do a financial breakdown and blah blah. But she was pretty clear last
Definitive.
night.
She was definitive
She
last
was
night. I was
definitive.
surprised by that as well.
Yeah, and by the way, Doug McCallum was he said, we thought he lost, and then now it's the vote. I don't know. I haven't looked this morning, but he's sort of saying maybe I'll ask for a recount. So he's not walking away yet. But I think
Where else do we need to go? Because there were a lot of incumbents who lost last night.
West Vancouver, new mayor there. So that was
Yeah.
I've been predicting that probably might happen. White Rock, another new mayor.
Yeah.
Predicted that. You had where else? There was New West.
Rich Coleman
Looks like
didn't win in Langley.
Coleman. That was very
Yeah.
surprising.
Yeah.
New West got a Jonathan Cote lookalike, basically, just like his.
I found it so funny last night when you guys were talking about Langley City and you looked to camera and you're like, let's get to the other Langley. Langley City is one thing, but I thought you
Yeah,
did just a fantastic job on CTV, honestly. I really did. You're great television, George-Affleck.
Thank you.
You are. I was very proud. We were at
I appreciate you sending me texts about, George, turn this way. George, pick up your pen. Stop folding your hands. And I was getting you and Amanda telling me, George, put on some powder, because they didn't have a makeup person. I had to do my own makeup. So I'm sitting there dabbing the sweat off my brow.
Oh my God. You had both of your wives, your wife at home and your TV wife both being like, do this, do that, move this, shift your body.
Uh,
But I thought the content of course you're handsome and it was your birthday, but the content of what you brought to it. And I thought Diane did a great job. I thought the whole panel was amazing. And I was at an event, celebrating one of my really good girlfriends beating lymphoma. Like we were having a happy, healthy, patio sit down. Yeah, really great. And they were like, we got to flip on the TV, turn it on to whatever. They said CBC or Global or whatever. I'm like, oh, we will put on George. And you were great. You were great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was super proud of you.
You.
And then
Yeah,
we did
fun.
this special edition of the program, and people can comment and react as they are on my Twitter. I literally got a DM from someone today who's like filling up my Twitter feed. I'm like, hey, you can start your own thread. All I said was I was sitting on the patio watching you. They have a little TV in their kitchen, so we had that. We're all sitting outside, and the neighbor across the fence, rah, 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 and we're like, what? Like thinking he was mad because we were noisy. And he goes, Ken Sims, the mayor. And the breaking news came up in front of you, and then we're like, oh, Ken Sims, the new mayor. And then immediately, because across the street at West 59th is where we were, was a polling station that's an elementary school, and fireworks erupted. And
What?
I tweeted, I tweeted, fireworks erupting in Vancouver for all the right reasons.
Really? You think that was related to this?
It totally was. We checked, and it was people who were excited.
Chip Wilson's house?
Yeah. It was 59th. No, I was down in South Vancouver.
Right.
It was 59th and 59th, and I don't even know what.
It's legal in Vancouver. Maybe they think Ken Sims is going to legalize them now.
I don't know what it was, but dude, the trigger on Twitter, I'm like, everybody needs to just calm down. Because people were like, fireworks are not good. What, is there a fire there now? Everything. I'm like, holy shit. Like, slow down. Slow down.
Well,
people.
I thought I was really disappointed. Colleen Hardwick's concession speech was really bad. It wasn't cool. And then Kennedy-Stewart bailed on the media. He did his thing and he just walked out of the building. This is not
like that's new.
I know, but it's just
he hasn't answered my phone call in 4 years, dude. I've been filling in on CKNW all last summer. Every day I did afternoon drive. I literally said anytime. Weird. But I was like, anytime. Oh no, he's busy. Okay, you tell me when he's not busy. Yeah, he's busy. Anyways, at George
underscore.
Affleck. He's 1 year older and 1 day older, everybody. At George_Affleck on Twitter, at Jody Vance on Twitter, Jody with a Y. Be nice, be calm, be kind, be safe, all those things.
And this is our episode for this week, by the way. We're not going to do one at the end of the week. Can we take a break?
We're taking a day off. We're just tune into Steele and Vance though on Check at 8 p.m. right after Jeopardy. Linda and I will likely be discussing all the things as well. And happy birthday, Boxing Day.
Bye.